We just had the Owen Miller revenge game. Can the Samad Taylor revenge game occur? That's a deep cut. Comment below if you got it. We're going to get into the Taylors, the Millers, and all the popular recent baby names on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Over there is Justin. I am Jeff. We want to welcome you to Locked On Guardians. We're only doing 1 out of 3 segments today in honor of the Guardians. So just, that's how it goes.
Wow. Man, you started that one. I mean, that was good. I wasn't prepared for that one.
We'll get into some debates later in the show. I had someone, I mentioned that you and I disagreed on a free agent thing, and someone commented like, well, don't just make up things for the sake of content. I'm like, no, it's not. We never make up things for the sake of having false conflict. It's just on 100 things we seem to disagree, mostly relating to eggnog and Will Smith movies. the lines in the sand. But rather than have this turn into a Cold War here, let's get into today's show. Tackle the games. Do we tackle the week of progress, as it says over here on this side that Justin put together before the show? That side.
Yeah, that one. That way.
That one.
That way.
I can't. I never get it right. It's always like, to me, it's this way, so I gotta go the other way.
I am not Vanna White, obviously. If you're watching on YouTube, I would not be hired to replace her. Yeah, I mean, you can look at it as, we said this before coming on. So the Guardians have now won 4-2 this week. That's good. That's good. They need those weeks, right? But also they've lost, like Jeff said.
Or this is what I when Justin brought this positive ray of sunshine, and I go, or you could say they beat the team that was built to fail, and then lost 2 series in a row to the decent squads. So, or 3 series. They lost 3 out of 4 series, all 2 teams competing, and then the team that was built to not compete, they sweep. So.
And it took extra? It took was a 1-run game and an extra inning game in one of them, right?
Yeah. It was not exactly a dominant performance.
Yeah, I hate to say it. Like, we're back in a mode of the Astro series looked okay, and then they went to the West Coast and stunk, and then they had some. I shouldn't say stunk. They just had some issues.
They stunk. And then they went. They went 2 for 4, 2 wins, 4 losses. That's a bad series.
But it's the same formula we've seen since the first series of the year. It's like you take a step forward, you take 2 steps back, and it's just like they are continually stuck in neutral. They can never build. If you watch my Locked On Now from Sunday, they just never seem to build momentum. Like, you never see things carry over. And I know momentum is such a finicky thing. Like, there really is no such thing as momentum in baseball, because every day is different. And that's why they always say when you go to the ballpark, you always see something new. Momentum is, the next day's starting pitcher. And Savali was fine. Like, he wasn't great. He had some issues.
He was Aaron Savali. He was mediocrely mediocre.
Yeah, he was 1 bad pitch away from a quality start, which is what you come to expect from Aaron Savali. And it didn't matter, because they gave him 4 runs or more than 4 runs. They only scored 4, and the offense needed a little bit of help to get there, because without a wild pitch, they wouldn't have. And that happens all the time. I mean, look at the Oakland game, right? The last Oakland game, they only spread that game out because the pitcher who, what was it?
Rios. He didn't show up at your door.
The guy who I was very afraid of putting that picture of him in our thumbnail, because I thought he was going to come and end me. So they needed some help from pitchers who can't throw a strike to spread things out and score runs. That's never what you want to see. Yeah. Although I will say, Jeff, I was going to save this for later in the show. The Guardians have if you go by weighted runs created plus, which again is an all-encompassing number to try to determine how good a team's offensive output is in one number. They are. Did I not update this? I think I have to update this. That was last June. I'm looking at this June. They have they are like middle of the pack, or they're better middle of the pack in the offense this year. And in June, they are. I can get this update. You go on. I have to get this.
So, I look at this thing and it's the same problem where, like, if I'm doing the box score bingo, yeah, they were in line to have a little more than 4 runs.
Yeah.
For those listeners of the show, it's like, and they ended up with, not a little bit more, but a little less. They aren't able to kind of put that finishing touch on. And I got to throw out there and say this, as much as it's, I jokingly called it the Owen Miller revenge game, and he played well. I think the most surprising thing was seeing Andrew Monasterio has been a major league player. For those who don't know him, he came over to the Washington Nationals in the Daniel Murphy trade and had a really unusual on base streak and lower high A. Sorry, my mouse just died, hence me moving and doing weird things on camera. But he had this really weird on base streak, and then he was one of the 3 pieces in the Yan Gomes deal. All 3 pieces made it to the majors. That's actually a big win for any trade. If you got 3 guys and they all made it to the big leagues, solid defender, but he was, when he was in Double-A Akron, he was never once did I look at him and be like, he's gonna make it to the big leagues. It's kind of shocking to see him up there as well. This is a Milwaukee Brewers team held together with duct tape. I mean, Blake Perkins, Andrew Monasterio. Right. I kind of liked Brian Anderson this offseason, and Romeo Tapia. I mean, this whole sorry, when I pulled my headphones down, the rim of my cap managed to hit the mute on the mic, which is kind of impressive. But for the worst reach Red City Cleveland has had, this lineup today is the worst I've seen, and they got 5 runs. And they didn't, they only had 3 extra base hits. Cleveland had 4. Corbin Burns is still a good pitcher. I know it wasn't his best start, but they just needed to.
Not look the same. Yeah.
No, he's not the same. But it's they need to put a little bit more together. Everyone had a base hit except for Gabby Arias and Quan. At least we had that. It's Gabby Arias, man. He can't hit righties this year. It's getting to the point where you wonder if he needs to move down in the lineup against righties. It sets you up to fail when he's one of your. It's the weirdest thing that his splits are almost the reverse of a year ago.
You mean Quan?
Did I not say Quan? Did I say Gabby? Yeah, I meant Quan.
We'll get into Arias later.
Yeah, but it's so weird that Quan can't hit righties at all this year. They can't. And then last year, it's almost the exact same split in reverse. We talked about that on Friday's show. Go listen. But yeah, this was a frustrating one on multiple levels.
And I finally got that stat to load. So the Guardians are actually 9th in baseball in WRC plus the month of June at 108. They're hitting for the month coming into Sunday's game. So this doesn't include Sunday stats, which should go up because they actually did pretty well. 281, 333, 420 as a team. Still a laughable 16 homers, which puts them in the bottom 5 in home runs for the month. And only 9 steals, which also puts them laughably in the bottom 5 for, the bottom 10 for steals, because they're a little bit above the bottom of the pack. But that's still pretty pathetic for how this team is put together.
Especially because they led the league in it a year ago, and the rules make it easier. And somehow
they led the league in it in April, or they were first in AL in April. I should say.
And now they can't figure out how to steal a base.
I know it's very bizarre. So, but they are hitting this month. They're hitting 281 as a team, 333 OBP. So they have shown signs of improvement offensively this month.
Oh, never mind. I see. My custom range went haywire. It's what happened here? That's what
it's just the month of June through Saturday's game. Yeah. So that is better. But like you said, how do you? It doesn't really help you much if you're not making any progress. And it seems like Saturday they gained ground on the Twins because the Guardians won Saturday, the Twins lost. And I don't even know if even saying that matters at this point, because this division is just going to go to whoever is playing the best in September and is the healthiest, because whichever the 2 teams get there in September and has a little bit of a hot streak and is healthy, that's probably who wins the division. And does that matter in October? I don't know. I suppose Bieber, and if Bieber's still here, and Bivey and Allen and Williams and whoever might be enough to get you a game or 2 in the wild card round. I don't know. I just don't know if any of this matters.
Then again, I always say, what I've said many times on the show, the one year they had no business making the World Series is the year they almost won it. So, I mean, the postseason, it's all about getting hot at the right time. By the way, if anyone is curious, the worst team in June in offense, the New York Yankees, like you all predicted.
And Aaron Judge, by the way, might be out for a while. Nice.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, second worst, tied with Milwaukee, who is, again, retread city. This is a team that has had no offense this month, and they were able to, outside of Bibee, kind of touch up the starting pitchers in this series. This was not an ideal weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing we have to talk about with Bieber too. Is on Friday is man, he was having looked like one of the best starts of the year. He was striking guys out.
Yeah, fourth time striking out more than 7 all year.
Yeah, he had the knuckle curve working. He had the slider working. Like, he was getting swings and misses. And then all of a sudden, the 6th inning came along, and they just ambushed him. And to be fair, this is something he's talked about himself, is that teams expect him to spin the ball, and he hasn't been spinning the ball. We've talked about all the times in the show about how he's been so fastball heavy, and he tries to get ahead in the count by dotting the fastball, and it does work. It does hurt his strikeouts, and that's,
But he can't get a third time through the order. And
yeah, but it's just he started, they picked up on the spin and they changed their game plan, and in a span of 3 batters, the game was over. And even to Francona's credit, because you and I have both criticized this before too, is he is too late to get a reliever up to combat issues. And the broadcast is like, oh, why is Tim Herron warming up? Bieber's been cruising. That makes you wonder. And it's like, well, Tito said after the game, he had that spurt in Arizona where things are going great, and that third time to the order, he felt things hit him hard, and they didn't have a reliever ready, so he was stuck. And he also needed to pick up the slack for a tired bullpen. That was not necessarily the case on Friday night, but Tim Herron was ready to go when the third time order came through, or he was getting ready, but it fell apart so fast it didn't matter. It's just so bizarre.
And it's the other side of it. It's great he missed bats when we're talking about trade value. It's just the third time all year he's at 8 or more Ks, but it's also, the data is out there. He can't go 3 times through an order, and that's also going to be a limiting factor if you look to trade him. I feel if this team's competing, they're not going to trade him. They're going to carry him through to this offseason is my general view right now, especially with all their pitching injuries. I don't think a Shane Bieber trade is materializing, so I think that may be something we probably set sail on, because I don't think the return is going to be worth the cost of a team that could make the postseason. Right. Speaking of things that we can do, we can talk more about all of this, but first let's run and take a quick break from our sponsors. One of our fantastic sponsors today are our good friends over at eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. So just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check mark to know the part will fit or your money back, because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop eBay Motors, and with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Motors, Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
And we should remind you that the Guardians are off on Monday, but they are back in action Tuesday. And first pitch is 8:10 Eastern if you are in Cleveland, or 7:10 if you are hanging out in Jeff's neck of the woods. And you can listen to the Guardians and Royals at that time by searching Guardians on your XM app.
No, all right, well, co-host has thoughts. You're gonna hear. I had someone comment in the thing. Does one of them have a cat when you were gone for me and Javi? I'm like, yes, it's my old co-host. He likes to pop in from time to time.
Yes, he gets a little jealous. That's understandable. So I don't really know if we're looking at any progress here. A 4-2 week is good. I don't think they really built off the Oakland series, and I think facing teams like Oakland and then the Royals coming up, I don't know. The wins all count the same, but are you really feeling like, okay, I guess you have to look for individual context pieces here, because you're not going to gain a whole lot about facing Brady Singer on Tuesday because he's not been good, and you got Zach Greinke on Thursday.
The Royals are worse than the Athletics. And here's the thing I was talking about, Justin, before the show. The Twins have the Orioles twice, the Braves once, and the Royals once. Cleveland have the Braves once and the Orioles twice. So, I think I said. So basically, the Braves and the Royals cancel each other out. The Twins have the Orioles 2 more times before the break. In that time, Cleveland has 1 Royals series, 1 Cubs series. If all things are even, they should be in first place come the All-Star break. 2 games with the difference in difficulty between the Orioles and the Royals, if you don't take 5 out of 6 from the Royals, you're doing it wrong. This team is terrible. Yeah. And the Cubs are, their ace pitcher is going online and basically asking either for an extension or to be traded. They're solidly mediocre, while the Orioles are a good team. So this is a chance. Cleveland should, as we approach the break, looking ahead, should be in first place.
Well, to be fair, Cleveland does have Atlanta, and then, like you said, Kansas City twice, but the Atlanta series will be awfully
But
tough.
so do the Twins. The Twins also have Atlanta. So just
and Baltimore, like you said, Cleveland's tough. Cleveland does have 6 against the Royals. Yeah, you should be doing 5-1 against the Royals if you can, especially with their pitching. Cleveland should have the pitching edge in every game. Yeah. Of course, we know that doesn't always...
And the hitting edge. The Royals are just that's the worst offense in baseball now.
I'd be careful about how you say that, truthfully.
No, I will stand by. The
Royals lineup is
terrible. And it's injured, and it's beat up. I mean, Vinny Pasquantino is gone. MJ Melendez I have on my So Rare team, and he has been one of the worst hitters in baseball. Bobby Witt Jr. is their only guy who I believe has a top 100 WAR, and like last year, it's almost all defensive. He's like an 80 runs created plus. Their best hitter this year, Mikhail Garcia.
Not Nick Prado?
No.
None of the bats to qualify.
I don't even think he's. I don't even. Yeah, he doesn't.
All right, it's a bad team.
It's a bad team. I mean, no one is like, for as much as we complain. And God, remember when like they signed Carlos Santana 3 years ago to help them like transition, and that transition to winning.
Coming into the season, remember how I was saying like, who was it? Drew Saylor, their hitting coach. I was like, this guy's a guy in the rise. He's really helped a lot of guys. MJ Melendez has taken a step back this year. Bobby Witt still hasn't taken a step forward.
Salvador Perez is at a 107. He's been solid. Matt Duffy is at he's not even at 100. We're just looking at 100 plate appearances. You got Nick Prado, good call on your end. Salvador Perez, Pasquantino's hurt, and then Edward Olivares, and that's it. Yikes. I mean, Mikhail Garcia is at a 99. Bobby Witt's up to a 93.
Yeah. It's bad. So we'll get into more of the Royals.
Remember all the people who wanted to trade were so mad when the Guardians traded Francisco Lindor and it wasn't to the Braves because they said that Drew Waters was the answer.
Woo, yeah, that has not worked out either. We'll get into more of the Royals on Tuesday, so stay tuned to that. So one of the things we have to get into today is decision making, and look, I know everybody on Saturday, and I myself included. I was like stunned to see the lineup that David Fry was in right field. Like, we're facing a right-hander. We knew Will Brennan was down because of the shoulder pull from that great catch on Saturday, or on Friday, I should say. Was it Saturday he made that catch? And
wasn't it Thursday? Wasn't it the Oakland series?
It was Wednesday. It was Wednesday because I was at the game when he made that catch. I was at the game. So he was banged up from the shoulder. Didn't see him again until on Saturday when he came in as a defensive replacement for David Fry. And then they were facing a right-hander. So Gabby faced a lefty on Friday, which, of course, he doesn't hit well. And then he didn't play on Saturday against the right-hander. So it's like, that's very confusing. So
interesting statements. Can I read some comments?
Read the statements. Yeah, read the comments.
So first is sometimes with young guys, you struggle to make some adjustments, Francona said, that they wanted to give Arias a break as he is in a 1 for 14 slump. To which I would respond, he's in a 1 for 14 slump because he can't
hit lefties.
He can't hit lefties, and that's all he's faced. And then also kind of an eye-opener to me was Francona talking about Fry. I was like, okay, let's let him play. He'll compete and he won't back down, which feels like he's saying that Arias wasn't competing and will back down. Like it, the quotes and the statements,
they give you a lot to read between the lines.
Yes, there's a lot to read between. And when you're doing a daily podcast, we spend a lot of time reading between the lines. But I think that's really interesting.
It's not even a podcast thing either. It's that the only way you're never going to get the 100% truth because they don't owe you that. And people are going to say, why don't they say this? Well, and Tito is always first to protect players, and that is his reputation. And that is a big reason why he's been successful, because he is a player's manager. I know people gripe about his decisions. And again, without any context, I also would say the decision for Fry in right field, it burned him on that first play of the game, but Fry came back to have 2 hits and he drove in the go-ahead run. And defensively, he made it work the rest of the day after that. So there is that. And other people will say, well, in spite of that, they won. And they didn't have a lot of other options. Again, Brennan was down, and there's just not.
It seemed that they were deciding to not play Arias. Like, that he was I don't want to say benched. That's probably the wrong terminology, but it's like he was going to sit for a game because of his struggles.
Yeah, like you said, he doesn't hit lefties well, and that's all he keeps being exposed to. That is a problem on its own merits. Yes. I think I think what happens Saturday is its own. It falls into that because, like you said, there's it's two sides of the coin. Is he struggling, or is he being put in bad matchups? I guess there's two ways to look at that, right? But there are other factors at play, and this is why I always caution before you go out on Twitter, and it doesn't matter. It's Twitter. At the end of the day, that stuff doesn't matter. It's a social media app. Who gives a crap, right? But there are always decisions and things going around behind the scenes that aren't public, and they're not going to make public, and they don't care if people don't know what's going on and question the decision, because it is what it is, and they're going to protect the player. But here's my thing on this. If they really want to play an outfielder against lefties and Arias isn't the right fit and whatever's going on there, why not call up Oscar Gonzalez to do that? Because Tyler Freeman can handle your infield needs, right? You have Arias there to cover for your infielders. Freeman can handle that, except he can't play first. Which I guess Arias can, but you have Bell and Naylor, so you have Fry. So Fry's there. Don't worry about that. I'm very careful to overlook the sample size, but this year in AAA, as Gonzalez has gone back down, he has a 915 OPS against left-handers. He is dreadful against righties. He's got a 725 OPS. Give Oscar another shot in right field. Play him against lefties. Move Brennan over to center against righties, and get Straw out of there against right-handers if you can. I don't know if there's anything going on where Arias needs a refresher or something. Give Oscar another shot against lefties. Just play him against lefties. That seems to be maybe something he can do, and you give yourself a chance to see if Oscar. He had a 5-for-5 day on Sunday. Not that one game matters, but he had a hit for the cycle. He went 5-for-5, and we know Arias is a fun guy, and everybody loves SpongeBob, right? So give him another chance to face lefties and go from there. And if that doesn't work out, you reassess from there. Give him a couple weeks to figure that out, because at some point you do have to figure out if Oscar's part of their future or if he is going to become roster fodder, right? And I think they're going to make a decision on Arias, and they don't want to send down Fry, and they're going to play Brennan, because Brennan has, even though he has not walking a lot, he's still starting to hit, and there's still defense. So I don't know. Why not, I guess, go to Oscar again and see how that works out.
Yeah, there's also that part of me. It's like, I don't know. I just don't have.
Who is the better fit for the roster right now? And let's leave everything else aside here. If you truly need someone to hit left-handers, if that's the role they continue to try to shoehorn Arias into, and it doesn't work out for him, and then you have other stuff, why not Gonzalez? That might be something he can do.
My general view.
Who's the better fit?
The problem is they have no fit. There isn't anyone. Like, they don't really have a good option at all. It's almost like
there's
one of those
no Brandon
things where
Guyer, there's no Ryan.
No, it's like they need to almost look outside the organization or figure something out. I just sit there and I was looking at the updated top 100 prospect thing today, and I'm just kind of like, okay, so what teams have extra outfielders? Like, who is someone? Because this outfield problem is a same continual problem for this team, and they need someone who can do something. And I don't. And
they're not going to be fixed by this team's issues isn't going to be fixed by a Jordan Luplow type either.
No, I don't think it gets fixed by Oscar Gonzalez. I don't know. I don't think he's good enough to adjust to the league. The league adjusted to him, and he's he's hitting lefties. I don't know what that sample size is down there.
It's a very small sample size.
As I say, it's probably very limited, but for the most part, he's getting utterly obliterated by most AAA pitching outside of when he does have those pop-up games. So I don't. I know someone's gonna be like, pick a spot and go with it, but it's like right now it's hard to see. There isn't a good internal option. There just isn't. That's kind of the problem now, and I don't know what you do. Like, Gavi Arias, when he got those opportunities to play against righties, was absolutely destroying baseballs. It's like, he's a much better defender at short than Ahmed. Like, that platoon should just be happening already, and then figure out the rest. But it's not, and we're kind of stuck with these debate points. We should probably take our next break here. Honestly, come back.
Talk about Quantrill.
Talk about Quantrill. I don't think there's a good choice, and that's, I think, when we get down to it, why so many people are like, let's trade Bieber. I think many people are hoping to find that right-handed bat. We'll talk about some of the lineup construction issues on tomorrow's show. There's some interesting stats Justin found, but first let's take a quick sponsor break here. Cal Quantrill.
Well, Tuesday night, don't forget to tune in to Cal Quantrill's not pitching Tuesday, but make sure you're listening to the Guardians and Royals on Tuesday at 8:10 on Sirius XM. Search Guardians on your Sirius XM app. Yeah, so Cal Quantrill went 5 innings in AA for AA Akron, and he said after the game that he feels like he's ready to go, and he looked ready to go. He said a comment after the game too, who said this is a shoulder. At best his shoulder has felt like over a year. So this shoulder thing must have been going on for a little longer than he let on. So
yeah, no, I think it was very clear that he was pitching through something.
So what happened? He's going to come back. There's no doubt he's going to come back to the rotation. Yeah. I think the easiest thing to do, honestly, I know people aren't going to like it, is to send Gavin Williams down. And I know we both said like,
it's him or Logan Allen. It's one or the other. I think Tanner has kind of proven himself.
Yeah, his start Saturday, we didn't even talk about it. His start Saturday was fantastic.
It was great.
He was throwing 97, 98 on his 100th pitch. He was
the only reason. Oh, go ahead.
He threw a 3-2 changeup.
Yeah.
See, I forget who the batter was, but he threw a 3-2 changeup in that last at bat. And I'm like, all the pitches, I think it was Luis Arias, and it was the whole at bat. It was all changeups and fastballs, and he wasn't hitting the changeup, and he went to a 3-2 changeup. It worked out. I'm like, wow, that's very confident to throw a 3-2 changeup to a right-handed hitter.
With Logan Allen's recent run of rough starts, it does make one wonder if there is a chance that he could be the one. But I think basically you're debating those two.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both said the reason we didn't think Williams would get the call because we thought it was going to be a short-term outing, right? We thought Cal's coming back, so there's no reason to put Williams' clock starting and head towards his service time. And Quantrill is coming back. I don't know. It could be Williams. I think they were just out of options. There's nothing left for them to do. I don't know. Like I said before, I think we talked about this last week. Like you could theoretically send any of these guys down, and you could limit their pitch count because you don't care about winning at AAA, and you can just let them go 5 innings or 70 pitches, limit their bullets, and get them where because they pushed Bieber hard on Saturday. I will say, not that he was overworked. He was still throwing 97 on his 100th pitch, but Tito has been saying for weeks that he wants to keep Gavin and Tanner and Logan all about 90 pitches. He doesn't want to go too much further with them. And at some point there is going to be an innings cap for those guys. And like I said, you could, in theory, send the AAA and have those guys throw 75 pitches and let them catch a breather. I don't know. And that's fine. But I think with that case, you're kicking the can down the road, right? I guess you're waiting for either a trade or someone to get hurt again until you bring one of them up. Ironically, I know people aren't going to agree with this. I think Williams needs the most work out of the three of them, right? I think Williams
I agree.
Stuff to work on. He could be the guy to go back to AAA because there are still things he can get better. And I'm not saying there aren't things that Allen and Bibee can't get better at. That there are still rookies, but the things that they need to do aren't going to be helped at AAA. And with Williams, I think there are things at AAA he can still get help by.
Yeah, I think the pitch mix is a lot weaker on him, which I know people will get mad at me for saying, but just the other three have 3 pitches I define as major league usable. And right now against either a righty or a lefty, he has 2. He's got 2, but it's not, so and it's not a knock on him.
Bibee or Allen can throw any of their pitches at any given time and account for a strike. And I think Williams is very fastball dependent. That's fine. That's not a problem, and it can work. But I think if you're looking at ways for him to improve, it's secondary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we'll see. I'll talk about All-Stars real quick too before we get out of here. So Jose Ramirez is back to being Jose Ramirez. He is, I think, top 10 or top 15 again in baseball in terms of WAR. No doubt he is going to be an all-star. He is one of the best hitters in the league over the last. I think he's first among third basemen in 5 categories right now. So he's going to be an all-star. I know a lot of people want to push for Josh Naylor being an all-star. I think that'd be great. But the reality is the first base market is pretty brutal for the first. Well, okay. Yandy Diaz
will start.
Does he have the most votes right now? I didn't look.
I don't know, but he's been far and away the best.
If he doesn't have the most votes, he should. He is the best offensive first baseman in baseball.
He has
for
the highest
League.
weighted runs created plus. He's Freddie Freeman is number 2 on that list. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, currently set at 7th. If you set no minor requirements, Nolan Jones at a 147.
I'm gonna go right past that because I don't need that noise today.
Ryan Noda has a higher one than him at a 135.
Ryan Noda has to make it because he plays for the Athletics. They're going to need a representative. He is the most obvious choice. It'd be funny if the Oakland Athletics got 2 All-Stars and
I think they'll get one. It's going to be Noda or Rooker. I would be if I was.
I guess you probably put. I would guess Clase probably gets in. I know people.
Yeah, I think Clase. I mean, he leads the league in saves. That's probably enough
at this point. Yeah, so I would like to see Naylor get in. I would love that. I don't think it's happening because again, Diaz is going to make it. I think Noda is going to make it. There's a chance that Rizzo makes it because he's a Yankee. Why not?
And doesn't he still have a higher weighted runs created plus? Am I wrong?
124 to Naylor's 111. Yeah, right. So, and then there's Vlad, Vlad's going to get a lot of votes too. So there's a chance. So you could have, in theory, Vlad.
Drury's been better, I think, this year as well. Like,
I don't think he's getting in. But I mean, I'm saying Vlad and Diaz are getting in, and I think Ryan Noda gets in because Oakland's going to need somebody, and that's probably it for first base. You don't need. Do
you know who has the highest WAR amongst American League first basemen? Luke Raley.
That's Gandhi, right?
No, it's Luke Raley because he's got positive defensive value. Plays all over. He's at 197 at bats. He's got 12 home runs. He's got as many as Yandy. He's currently with the.
What's the minimum requirement on that though?
He's at almost 200 plate appearances. 197 right now. I mean, Brandon Belt has a higher one. He's kind of in the Nick Prado range. I know we're kind of running long, so just Naylor is just not quite there. But I think Clase and Jose.
Yeah, that's going to be it. And then last thing too, there's an interesting article on FanGraphs that says that the Guardians are facing the shallowest outfield depth of any defense. So defenses are basically playing all the way in against them in the outfield. Their average depth is 5 feet shallower than the rest of the league, and it's not even close. There's a good sizable gap there. And I thought
no one's even at league average. Not a hitter.
Jeff pointed out league average. So outfielders line up on average at 305 feet, and the closest was, I'll let you say because it was your
Mike Zunino was at 304 point. He was a foot short of average, and he was the deepest anyone was lining up.
And Bell was right there with him. After that, it goes decreasing. So teams are pretty much playing their outfield in against the Guardians, and I thought, well, maybe this is part of the issue. Maybe the Guardians they adjusted to the Guardians, and they're not allowing those blue pits to fall anymore, and that's hurting the Guardians' average on balls in play, and that's part of their offensive struggles this year. Nope, the Guardians' batting average on balls in play this year is 292. It was 294 a year ago, so it has dropped 2 points or 0.02 points. That is not enough to really sway things, so that is not hurting them. So their issues are completely separate of that, and we're going to leave you on a note that's not going to make you feel any better. But Tuesday, you should still tune in because we're going to talk about the drafts. We're going to talk about a little bit of the minor league baseball or the Guardians farm system from the first half. The first half is over, so we'll get into some of that, and we will preview the Royal Series.
Yep, we want to thank you all for listening, rating, reviewing, doing your part as part of the Locked On Guardians team. Make sure that you leave those reviews, subscribe, like, and hit the bell. And again, thank you to all of our everydayers. There are so many of you to mention, and make sure to go Guardians, go.